Imagine this, a planet without waste.
No more landfills piled high with our junk, no plastic-strewn oceans, and no harmful fumes from burning our trash.
Sounds pretty amazing, right? But how do we make that happen?
What if I told you there might be a colossal, natural incinerator already on Earth that could potentially do the job? Yep, I'm talking about volcanoes.
What if volcanoes could be used for destroying Earth's waste? This is What If Explanations, and today we're diving deep into whether the fiery fury of volcanoes could become Earth's ultimate waste solution.
Alright, before we start throwing all our trash into the nearest volcano, let's take a step back and think about what this idea really means.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Volcanoes are basically massive pits of molten rock.
They're insanely hot, reaching temperatures of over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's enough to melt almost anything, plastic, metal, even organic waste.
So, wouldn't that be the perfect way to get rid of all the garbage we humans create?
Let's be real here. Waste is a massive problem.
Every year, humans generate over 2 billion tons of waste, and the number is only climbing.
Landfills are overflowing and plastic is choking up our oceans.
Finding a new solution is critical. So, why not harness nature's very own cauldron?
Here's the idea. Take all that waste, the plastic bottles, the old furniture, the electronics we no longer want, and just toss it into an erupting volcano.
Problem solved, right? Well, not quite. Unfortunately, using volcanoes as giant trash cans isn't as simple as it sounds.
First off, let's think about logistics. Volcanoes are pretty remote. It's not like they're just chilling in the middle of every city.
Most of them are located in areas that are pretty tough to get to.
Imagine hauling billions of tons of garbage up treacherous paths across continents and trying to get it close enough to the volcano to drop it in.
Just transporting all that trash would be an enormous challenge.
It would cost a fortune, and honestly, it'd be a logistical nightmare.
But let's assume somehow we figure that part out. Maybe we build a mega conveyor belt system to transport our trash directly to the volcanoes.
Even then, there's a major problem: the emissions. See, volcanoes are powerful forces of nature, but they're not particularly kind when it comes to what they emit into the air.
When volcanoes erupt, they release massive amounts of toxic gases like sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and hydrochloric acid.
If we start throwing our trash into that mix, the amount of toxic gases could be absolutely catastrophic.
Think about plastic, for example. When you burn plastic, it releases dioxins, toxic chemicals that are incredibly harmful to both humans and the environment.
If we start throwing loads of plastic into volcanoes, we'd basically be creating a global toxic gas machine, pumping harmful chemicals into the atmosphere on a scale never seen before.
This could actually make our pollution problem way worse, not better. And then there's the question of safety.
Volcanoes are unpredictable. They're not just sitting there calmly, waiting for us to dump our trash.
They're often active, violent, and incredibly dangerous.
Getting close enough to a volcano to drop garbage in would be a life-risking mission, not to mention volcanic eruptions can't be controlled.
If a volcano suddenly decided to erupt while we're trying to use it as a trash incinerator, the result could be disastrous, not just for the people nearby, but also for the surrounding environment.
Now don't get me wrong, the idea of harnessing nature's raw power to deal with our mess is intriguing.
And in some ways, it's almost poetic. But we have to remember that volcanoes are not waste disposal units designed to be used by humans.
They're part of the Earth's natural system, a process of destruction and creation that's far beyond our control.
Trying to use them as a quick fix for our waste problem could end up creating a whole new set of issues, ones that we might not even be prepared to deal with.
But let's take a step back and look at what this thought experiment really teaches us.
At the end of the day, the real problem isn't that we don't have enough ways to dispose of our waste. It's that we produce so much of it in the first place.
Rather than coming up with more extreme ways to get rid of it, what if we focused more on reducing how much we create?
Reducing, reusing, and recycling might sound like old news, but they're still some of the best tools we have for managing our waste.
We have the technology and creativity to find solutions that work, without risking the health of our planet in the process.
The truth is, volcanoes are part of a delicate natural balance.
They are a way for the Earth to release pressure, cycle materials, and create new land.
Interfering with that balance, even with good intentions, could have unforeseen consequences.
Sometimes the best solution isn't to fight against nature, but to learn from it.
Nature is all about cycles. Everything is used and reused in an intricate web of processes that support life.
Our modern waste problem is, at its core, a disruption of this cycle.
We produce things that can't easily fit back into nature's plan, like plastics that take hundreds of years to degrade.
Volcanoes may be powerful, but they're also unpredictable. They erupt without warning, and they produce ash, gases, and even lava flows that can travel at dangerous speeds.
The idea of using them as incinerators sounds efficient, but there's no way to predict exactly how they would behave once we add more fuel to their fire.
For all we know, dumping waste into a volcano could make eruptions more violent or trigger eruptions in otherwise dormant volcanoes.
The Earth is a connected system. What we do in one place can have effects that ripple across continents. There's also the ethical question.
By sending our waste to volcanoes, are we truly solving the problem? Or are we just finding another way to pass the buck?
It's a lot like what happens when we dump trash in the ocean or send it to landfills in faraway countries.
Out of sight, out of mind, but the problem hasn't gone away. It's just been moved.
And when you look at it that way, using volcanoes for waste disposal doesn't feel like progress.
It feels like yet another way to ignore the core issue, which is that we simply consume too much.
But what if we took all the energy and resources we might use to try and make this idea work, and instead put it into more sustainable ways of living?
We could invest in new recycling technologies or better waste management systems that make it easier for people to recycle at home.
We could design products that are easier to recycle or are made from materials that naturally break down.
We could work towards a society that values sustainability over convenience, one where we aren't just looking for the next quick fix, but are instead focusing on the kind of world we want to leave behind for future generations.
Think about all the advancements we've made in technology in just the past 50 years.
We have smart devices that can answer our questions in seconds, we can map the human genome, and we're even looking at putting people on Mars.
With that kind of ingenuity, surely we can figure out a better way to deal with our waste than throwing it into a volcano.
We've got the creativity and the knowledge. What we need now is the willpower to change our habits, to shift our culture to one that sees waste not just as something to be gotten rid of, but as something that can be reduced and reused.
It's time to see waste as a resource, not just garbage. Some of the things we throw away could be repurposed into new materials or turned into energy.
We've already started doing this in some places. For example, some countries have waste-to-energy plants that burn garbage to produce electricity.
It's not a perfect solution, but it's a step in the right direction. Imagine if we invested even more into this technology, if we found ways to make it cleaner and more efficient.
Maybe then we wouldn't even need to think about extreme options like volcanoes. And what about changing how we manufacture goods in the first place?
What if everything we made was designed to be reused or repurposed?
Imagine a world where nothing ever really becomes trash because everything has a place to go when its original purpose has been fulfilled.
In such a world, we wouldn't need landfills or incinerators.
We wouldn't need to pollute our oceans or wonder if volcanoes could be the solution.
We just have smarter systems that worked in harmony with nature rather than against it.
The idea of using volcanoes to burn our waste speaks to a deeper problem in our society, our obsession with convenience.
We want quick fixes for complicated problems. We want solutions that require as little effort from us as possible. But the truth is, there are no shortcuts when it comes to saving the planet. There's no magic volcano that can take all our problems away.
If we want a cleaner world, we're going to have to work for it.
So what if volcanoes could be used for destroying Earth's waste?
It turns out they probably could, but the risks and costs are just too high.
And maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe the real lesson here is that there are no easy answers.
Maybe it's time we stopped looking for giant incinerators and started looking at ourselves, at the way we live, the things we buy, and the waste we create.
Maybe it's time we realize that the power to solve our waste problem isn't out there somewhere, in a volcano or some other extreme solution.
It's right here, in the choices we make every single day.
The truth is we have the power to make a difference.
Each of us has the ability to change the way we live in small but meaningful ways.
We can choose to buy less, to reuse more, and to support businesses that are making an effort to reduce waste.
We can recycle, we can compost, and we can educate ourselves and others about the impact of our actions.
We can demand better from the companies that make the products we buy, and we can push for policies that prioritize sustainability over short-term profit.
So, next time you think about throwing something away, think about where away really is.
It doesn't just disappear, it goes somewhere.
And whether that's a landfill, an ocean, or a volcano, it has an impact.
It's up to us to decide what kind of impact we want to have.
Do we want to be the generation that finally figured out how to live sustainably? Or do we want to be the ones who kept looking for the next quick fix until it was too late?
It might not be as flashy as tossing our garbage into a volcano, but the choices we make every day, small, simple choices, are what will really change the world.
After all, the power to solve the waste crisis doesn't lie in the belly of a volcano. It lies in each of us.
The choices we make every day determine the future of our planet.
We don't need a fiery furnace to save the world.
We just need to be mindful of what we do with what we have. Thanks for tuning in.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Who knows?
Maybe together we can help change how we think about waste and make a difference.
This has been What If Explanations. Until next time, keep wondering, keep exploring, and keep making a difference.